All right, greetings, whenever, wherever you may be. It is
Whenever.
whenever, yeah, because
Everybody's in the same time, like at this
not
moment,
really,
right?
because it could be late night Japan or something like that, or
All right, fair enough.
yeah, the space is worldwide, right? Or even more than intergalactic.
I'm reading a
Yeah,
sci-fi book right now that says that time is a lie. So we'll see.
there you go, there you go. So we
All
have
right,
Cody.
we're gonna have to talk more about time real quick, and then we'll get into the call. Because on the Trading with Cody chat, did you guys notice I was like 10 p.m. today? I was
Yes,
supposed to do the
and
chat
that's
at
why I
10
submitted
p.m.
my question this morning because I thought it was 10 a.m.
I did too, and then I went in there, and there was nobody in there, and I'm like, oh crap, did I say? So time zones are already idiotic. I don't think time zones should exist. But now I'm thinking that military time is actually important too. So
That's why they do
no
it, right?
time zones, only military time. And let's make New York City the center of the universe like it actually is. And that's just whatever time it is in New York, that's what it is. But then I got to thinking when you just said this, Cabana, intergalactically speaking, what are we going to do with time zones? Are you going to be like we're on Mars and we're on the Eastern time zone, but you're on Mars?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Go ahead. Please introduce the call. I don't know why I went down that stupid rabbit hole.
That was kind of fun. I mean, we don't have Dan here this week, but I was like trying to prepare an introduction for him, but of course he's not here this week. But we do have hedge fund manager, tradingwithcody.com head Cody Willard. He's also a stock star, rock star, has author. You name it.
Tell them that you read this book, not this one. You read this book, The Bitcoin
The PDF
Revolution
version.
and the Great Cryptocurrency Crash. That was right before crypto crashed the first
It did.
time, or
And
one of the times.
The last one, like 2018, 2019.
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
But so, yeah, and that's 2017 is when this came out.
Okay, so I read it after that.
That's how you got into crypto, Cabana.
Well, that was in the great last, I guess, bull in Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, which you reference all of them in the book. I just wanted to learn more about it, and I just dabbled in it. And like Litecoin did, it doubled within weeks, and it was just crazy because in stock market terms, you don't really get a 2x unless you're dabbling with penny stocks or some ridiculous sketchy high volatility names and stuff like that. And it got me intrigued, but the more I learned about it, the further down, like we said in the green room, the rabbit hole I went. And it's look at us right now. We're discussing.
Well, and Cabana, I mean, look, let's be real. Let's be honest with people here. You've done very well having bought cryptos in 2018, basically when it crashed, and you've ridden this for a long time.
Yeah, but in your book, I think, and I've said this on my streams, my shows, is like the most valuable lesson out of that is I didn't go all in at the top. Like you were bearish in the book. Like you were like,
I'm like, the Bitcoin revolution's amazing, but we're about to have a crash.
But hold off, take your time. And I took those words, I held them close, man. And that's I truly did. Like I dabbled with it, I waited, and it 20K hit for Bitcoin and 1400 on Ethereum. And it just came down. I was very patient, and that's when you buy, is like these bottoming cycles. And I think we just had one, who knows with marketing conditions and stuff like that, but 15K for Bitcoin kind of felt like a bottom to me. 800 felt like a bottom. I know you're more bearish maybe than I am.
Not necessarily. I agree with you. I think all roads lead to Bitcoin eventually. It's just a matter of when your timing is, and you don't want to necessarily chase at this moment when it's just doubled. But I'd rather be long Bitcoin than not own it.
Yeah.
Joe, can you finish introducing the guys, and then I'm going to come back to the book because I just opened it up. I have a quick thing I just saw that'll be interesting.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we got Joe Anderson here. I need written intros so I can do this properly. So if y'all can
Joe, tell people who you are.
You are regulars, but introduce yourself, Joe, and we'll get over to Sanasi.
Joe Anderson. Yeah, I've been a regular for a while. I'm in the promotional products industry, actually, not really in finance or anything, but creative director, business owner, do lots of printing and marketing and such. And I've been helping out on the graphic side for SKTLs and just having a good time with it. So,
and a good dude. He's a good dude. So,
and I try to be a good dude.
Yeah. And Sanatsi is a legend, and I'm not even in his own mind. This guy's actually a legend. Sanatsi, be honest. Tell them how you're like the chief scientist at one of the most powerful internet firms. You were that. Like, tell them who you were.
I can't name names, but I'm like a 12-year subscriber of trading with Cody.
Oh, nice.
Maybe I guess maybe in my 13th, I'm not sure, but in any case, yeah, I retired August 2020, and I've been in mostly telco, actually, workflow development, really mostly. Prior to that, I was into compilers. That was my specialization. So I worked on Ada compiler, actually, for the Navy. And even though I'm a foreigner, I was allowed to work on the technical side of things. So that's pretty much really the summary. And so
modest.
When
he was the
Cody,
chief scientist. Let me do this for him.
And
He was way too modest. Sanatsi was the
the
chief scientist at the world's largest telecom company. Okay, like you guys can read between the lines what it is.
I did
It wasn't
R&D.
It wasn't WorldCom.
Yeah, I did R&D. I was mostly on the R&D side. Yeah, you're right.
Was he a
and then
subscriber to the telecom connection?
Were you a subscriber to the telecom? I don't even know if that is. At thestreet.com in 2002, I published a newsletter for like 5 years called the Telecom Connection. Did you know that, Sanatsi?
No, I didn't. I honestly didn't know.
That's awesome. That's so funny.
Yeah.
But I looked up in this book real quick, by the way, and this is not supposed to be a commercial for Trading with Cody. This is a SKTLs call, but why not? We're talking crypto. Yeah. And I've opened up the book as we were just talking, chapter 8, and it says other cryptocurrencies and ones to avoid. But it starts off with a list of all the cryptos that are, the major cryptos that were out there. And it looks like it listed about 100 of them.
100.
And the first one is Bitcoin. You guys wanted to know what the market cap and price of Bitcoin was at the time?
What? All right, hold on. 2017.
Yeah.
$1,200. I don't know.
No, 11,000.
11,000.
I first, long-time subscribers like these guys, 2 out of the 3 on this call with me, know that I was buying Bitcoin and writing about it ad nauseum in 2013 at 100, 150, and I used to get. There's some insight in this. People were annoyed with me for writing about crypto too much because number one, it was too hard for the average reader, subscriber of mine to go buy, and number two, they were like, what are you doing? We're in stocks. And so it was, and still is, a lot of people just still don't get crypto. All roads lead to Bitcoin. When you talk about fiat currencies anywhere in the world, the United States has the best fiat currency in the world, but it's still a crappy fiat currency that gets printed. You can save all your money. You can have reserve currencies as a developing country or a major country and have billions of dollars of US dollars in your checking accounts. And then we print more for banks one day. And, sorry, you saved that. Well, Goldman Sachs gets $1 trillion next week. That's what Bitcoin never will have. That's what SKTLs will never have. It's one of the big promises of crypto. Before we move on, Ethereum at the time was $400. Bitcoin Cash was the 3rd largest crypto at the time.
Bitcoin
1,500. Ripple was number 4. IOTA was number 5. Litecoin number 7. Cardano number 9. I haven't even heard of most of these anymore. QTUM. I wonder if QTUM, does it even exist anymore? It was at $13 and had $1 billion market cap at the time. Those were the ones I was telling people to avoid. In general, I tell people, look, Bitcoin, it's a must own forever, pretty much.
Any Bitcoin fork is.
What was that?
I said any Bitcoin fork like Cash, SV, like
Nah, stick with the Bitcoin, Bitcoin Classic. And then I don't want to say Bitcoin Classic because there might be a crappy crypto called Bitcoin Classic. Stay with the original Bitcoin. And then other than that, Ethereum, I get it. Yeah, it's not the worst. I've owned it off and on over the years. I don't own any right now.
I'm more bullish on Ethereum than Bitcoin. I know we've had this, go around before, but there's just so much more being built on it, and it's faster argument. I mean, if you want to go for speed, like you could say Ripple's faster, but in terms of just utility, what's being built on it, Bitcoin's still kind of slow. I know they're Lightning Network, they're trying to pump that, and
yeah, but the thing about Bitcoin isn't its utility as a currency in transferring money to people and making purchases. It's digital gold. I mean, that's really the main reason to own Bitcoin as a investment, is because if you are not only in the United States where we print money silly also and bail out banks with real money, but like if you're in Venezuela, this is what I've been writing for 10 or 12 years. Like if you're in Venezuela, I dated a girl from Venezuela in the 2009, 2010 timeframe, and the country was collapsing under communist regime, and the currency was collapsing over there. And she was her family was wealthy, and they spent their time trying to figure out how to turn their Venezuelan currency, coronas, I think it was, into dollars or jewels or gold or anything but the crappy currency of that crappy country's government. It's a great country, but a crappy government of that country that was controlling the currency. And if you're in Iraq, or if you're in anywhere that's not, Europe, maybe China, maybe the United States, I mean, our own currencies are crappy too. Fiat currencies are controlled by central control, and by fiat, they literally are like, hey, print more, give it to these people. And Bitcoin and these other cryptos don't have that. So in general, I say stick with Bitcoin, maybe a couple, 3 others. And then Skytles has a mission. It's not just a crypto. It's literally, the more that Skytles goes up in value over time, the more funding for cleaning up space debris there will be. And we're unique in that, other than Bitcoin, I don't think anything but Skytles and Bitcoin gave away every single token that was ever printed. And we did it. There were no founders tokens on Skytles or Bitcoin. Hiroshima had to go buy, what's his name?
Satoshi Nakamoto.
Satoshi Nakamoto had to go buy his crypto, his Bitcoin that, he became a trillionaire with eventually, multi-hundred billionaire. If he's even real, if he exists, if he's one man,
that's
one woman, I don't know, one whatever. Anyway, that is the story on cryptos.
Yeah, well,
there is a book. I wouldn't necessarily go read my book, The Bitcoin Revolution. It's from 2017. There's better books to buy now in crypto.
I would almost say read it just for some perspective as to where your mind was at that point, because I think you hit a lot of points dead on. And
you're very nice, Cabana.
No, Bitcoins and Ethereums, they're still around, and you were cautious as well. So you were like, be patient, and you can get these things at better prices, to my recollection. So yeah, I wanted to ask you about this too. I have CNBC on in the mornings and whatnot, and they'll bring on a Buffett, they'll bring on a Charlie Munger, whatever, and
Charlie Anger,
Anger, that's about right.
Yeah, just about. And they're so anti-crypto. Jim Cramer, he was actually bullish.
He loved crypto at the top.
He loved it. And now he's bearish, and he's thinking, this is all manipulated. So, just for, I guess, this discussion's sake, while we're talking on crypto, like where do you stand on this? Because I think they've bought into the regulation pill, and it's like, oh my gosh, where's this going to go? Is it all going to be wiped out? Because it's not the best for banks and their business model. And I would think that, business networks may be on the side of that for obvious reasons. And I've just noticed a recent uptick in the pretty much the putting down of crypto lately. It's like got so much more skepticism as opposed to say a few years ago when it wasn't a bull market. And people were like, "Oh my gosh, the ticker's on the screen," and they're pushing it, and now it's like, "Oh man, we don't know," but now we're coming out of it. So.
You just answered the question. I mean, as much as anything, I think the recent on TV, the majority of TV commentary and the traditional financial guys have been vocal about their anti-crypto stance, but it's largely a function of crypto having crashed from Bitcoin from 65,000 to 15,000, and so many of the other cryptos going down 90%. And like in Cramer, look, I love Cramer. I would not have ever been on TV if Cramer hadn't put me on TV the first time. Cramer published me on thestreet.com the first time I ever got published. I mean, I love Jim Cramer for everything he's done in my career. Now, that being said, objectively looking at him and his commentary on crypto, I'm like, wait, what? You loved it at 55, 60,000. Now you hate it at 15 to 30,000. I'm not following this.
Right.
I still like there is always going to be the Jamie Dimons, who's the CEO of JP Morgan, and the classic banker guys are not going to like the Bitcoin revolution because it, as you just said, is antithetical to their business model's premise of, basically the giant banks, especially. They make that most, like Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan, they 99.8% of their trading days, they're up because most of what they're trading is front running U.S. bond trades, front running the Treasury on the things it's doing, front running the Federal Reserve on what it's doing. And that's what they need. Like, that's how they end up, owning mansions in Montauk. And the crypto is outside of that, and that's why all roads lead to Bitcoin eventually, because it's not good for you and me that Goldman Sachs front runs our government. Like, it's not good. It's not good that they are making extra money doing not necessarily nefarious, but questionably ethical transactions to constantly be making money every time they do trades on bonds and dollars and currencies, and that will end over time. So because Bitcoin becomes a bigger and bigger piece of the pie, I have been surprised, frankly, that the government didn't outlaw crypto at some point, and I'm still amazed that the SEC doesn't crack down on the obvious fraud, silliness, and stupidity that 20,000 out of the 21,000 tokens out there are premised upon. And they need to. There are people that are still losing money and are going to get wiped out of their cryptocurrency holdings when XYZ token goes to zero. And they're going to go to zero. Most of them will go to zero in the next 5 to 10 years. Bitcoin probably won't, unless it gets shut down by the U.S. government somehow. Not even sure they could do that, though.
What's your take on the balance there, though? Because it's like, if the SEC, or pretty much it seems like one man leading an organization, I'm talking about Gensler, is coming after an entire industry, that money is going to leave to Singapore, it's going to leave to London, and that, like, you've written about it. It's probably a multi-trillion-dollar economy. How far do you think he'll go in messing with it?
I don't think, but that's my point, Cabana. I'm shocked that Gensler doesn't do anything. He shows up after FTX is already bankrupt, and he's like, "We're here to rescue and save you people from FTX."
You wrote about this like a year ago, I think.
I predicted that Gensler would show up, not necessarily at FTX, but I was like, the way the SEC works is they show up after everything collapses, and then they're like, "We're here to help." And that's what they do. Like, I don't think that'll change. I don't think Gensler's doing a good job. I think he should be cracking down on fraud and silliness and stupidity in the markets, and he is not. I think the U.S. could be the leading cryptocurrency country forever if we were serious, if the government, the SEC, the CFTC, the governing regulating bodies would actually actively go out and start shutting down bad actors but instead they wait until the bad actors have rug pulled and everything, all the innocent people in that token get wiped out. And then they show up and they're like, oh, we're here to help. Like, I don't think I would push back that Gensler's doing anything. He doesn't do anything but show up after.
At some point, could the banks decide some of the funny money they've got sitting around that they just ask for and get for free, that they decide that they're going to throw it into Bitcoin? Can that be a trigger that says, okay, well, the banks are doing it? I mean, some of the brokerage houses are letting you do things now. I mean, at some point, do the banks jump in, and then that's the trigger that takes Bitcoin to $1 million?
I don't know that it'd be I don't think they jump in or dive in.
I think they're already in.
They do already, right? Like most investment bankers
creating a wallet. JP Morgan is obviously in. Yeah.
Yeah, they're gently, slowly but surely enabling their customers because there's demand from their customers. I'm a bank. I have bank accounts at Wells Fargo, for example, and they don't have any that I know of any way for me to hold Bitcoin in there or something. I mean, I still think they're not fully in, but most bankers have Bitcoin exposure. Kramer, the one actually I've talked about in the last year or two was Anthony Scaramucci. If you guys know who he is, not from Trump infamy, but I've known the Mooch for 15 years. I've been to his house with the Trumps and dinner parties and stuff over the years with them. And the Mooch, as he goes by, is it's pretty much like a mainstream Wall Street guy. He runs his main business, Skybridge, is a fund of funds that invests in hedge funds, not in my hedge fund, but in hedge funds like mine. He would invest in these things, right? And he takes people's money and takes a small cut and gives it to people like me who take a bigger cut and then actually invest it. But when he and his firm went all in on crypto in the last year and a half, 2 years, that to me, I've written about that. That was the time I'm like, well, it's basically got Wall Street's blessing. When Jim Cramer started saying, he's no longer saying this, but a year ago, 2 years ago, he started being like, Bitcoin's all right. It's interesting. And then he eventually was like, I love Bitcoin. I love crypto. When I saw those guys serious about putting their names behind crypto, they don't do that in a vacuum. They do that because the United States government and banks in general, bankers in general, are also figuring out the crypto world. And so, Joe, I think there are banks and bankers enabling crypto happenings and transactions and things. And over time, it will take market share from fiat currency. Like that, I think is just a no-brainer. All roads lead to Bitcoin.
Yeah, it was interesting about Kramer is when they had Elizabeth Warren on, I think it was like 1 or 2 weeks ago, and he was like, I'm going to ask her, because the main thesis of Bitcoin is people feel safer, and it might be a flight to safety regarding the regional bank crisis with, SVB and whatnot, but he never did when she was actually on screen. I'm like, that was the opportunity. That was the question I wanted to hear an answer.
What's the question? What did you want him to ask her?
Just do you feel like Bitcoin is a flight to safety because of these regional banking failures?
We saw it was, right, Cabana? I mean, that's what fueled this latest move.
It's gone up. Where are we at? 30K, something like that? Yeah.
Like people, it's the same thing where it's like, if you're in Venezuela or Iraq, you sit there and you're like, I don't want the government or the bank to steal my money. Let me try to get it in Bitcoin. And when SVB, Silicon Valley Bank, started having its crisis, and then First Republic, and then all the other ones that regional banks especially just got in this almost like runs on their banks. Those people were pulling that money out and trying to figure out where to put it. And if you had several $1 million at one of those banks, not to mention tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars at one of those banks, when you pull it out, you can't safely go deposit it somewhere else because the FDIC only insures up to $250K. And
$250,000.
Yeah. $250,000. And so that money, some of it was like, well, put some of it at least in Bitcoin outside of this banking system. And that is part of what fueled that latest move. We are not even talking about space today, but when we have a space debris cleaning cryptocurrency, I suppose we could spend the whole call on crypto and it still is totally germane.
Yeah, because it's space and crypto, and pretty much 90% of our calls are space related. And we have excellent experts in the industry like we've had for the past couple of weeks. And last week was just outstanding. I mean, I'm more on the crypto side, but I just have a pleasure in hosting this because I learned so much about the space side, and I've always been fascinated with space since I was a kid. So
I got a treat for you guys in the next week or two, by the way. I have former SpaceX executive, former Rocket Lab executive, a guy that I've been talking to and gotten to know over the last 3 weeks. And he will be coming to talk about some of his experiences, and he will regale you with some stories about like the head of NASA sitting in the room with him thinking the mission was done and awesome. And then them going, holy no, sit down, sit down. We got to do it all. And everything almost coming unglued. And then at the very last minute, they save the day and Falcon X delivers the cargo to the International Space Station. So, yeah, we'll get back to space next week. We got another 3 to 5 minutes to talk crypto. So, Nazi, you're holding your hand up, Endor. I think Piper, someone might have a question. Hit it, Sonatzi.
Piper, yeah, I was going to say Piper had a question.
Will CBDCs lead to governments banning Bitcoin ownership the way they did with gold in the early 30s?
What is CBDC? Central
bank digital currencies.
Gotcha. Let me get back to the screen. No, I don't. I mean, I don't think they can put the cat back in the bag. Is that the right analogy? Cat's out of the bag. Yeah, can't put the cat back in the bag. The Bitcoin at this point has hundreds of billions of dollars of infrastructure that has been built for it. There are hundreds of billions of dollars, $1 trillion at one point, of assets of people saving their money in Bitcoin itself. And so I don't look, you never know what the Republican Democrat regime and its idiocy and its pretending to help people and all of the scams and corruption that the Republicans and Democrats do with all of the government control they've got. I never will doubt their ability to fuck things up and ruin people's lives. But I don't think they can put that cat back in the bag. It's always a possibility. If you'd asked me in 1970, I would assume I was born in 72. But if you had asked me in 1970, will the government ever outlaw the ownership of gold? Will we ever get off the gold standard? I probably would have said no, I would imagine. I don't know. Maybe I would have been skeptical enough even back then that I would have thought, yeah, Nixon or some jerk is going to do it at some point, and then he did it.
But even if they do or try to, nowadays is such a different realm because you saw a bank run happen within what, hours? Like people can pull out money on their phones and billions of dollars can move within a day or two. And crypto is, it's obviously not fiat, but it's the equivalent of mobile money. So people, if you have contacts in a Hong Kong or a London or something like that, like it can be spread out so much faster and easier nowadays. So that's why I would think like the US is, or not the US, perhaps a person named Gary or an organization is playing with fire and could be driving out a $1 trillion economy by messing with it too much.
Again, I would push back that I think one of the reasons the United States fiat currency and our system of finance has dominated for 110 years or whatever it's really been since they created the Federal Reserve and the petrodollar and the things that we've done over the last 100 years, 70 to 100 years. The main reason why we are the cleanest shirt in the laundry, the best system, is because we, for all of our faults, we do send people to prison for fraud. We do prosecute outright fraud and stupidity and negligence in the system over time. And we do it better. Maybe we don't do it all the time, but the United States is better about creating laws that are then followed than any other country on this planet in its history. And that's why we have $1 trillion market caps for Apples and Googles, and people seek out the U.S. Treasury as a safe haven. Like, the reason that happens is because we do enforce laws. And so I want Gary Gensler to prosecute fraud and stupidity in the crypto industry. It would be good for the United States. It would make the United States the long term, over the long run, the United States would by far be the best place to go with your cryptocurrency if you knew that they would enforce the laws on fraud.
100% agree with you, but that's the complaint of Brian Armstrong and Coinbase, for example, because they're like, okay, well, you want to regulate, communicate with us and let us know, ask us questions. Let's open up a dialogue, but they won't. They just, it's such a one-way conversation. It's
partisan in many ways. I mean, it's partisan and it's political. Whether it's partisan or not, it's still political. I mean, the SEC is a political entity, not an actual regulatory body, right? I mean, it's politics, and so is the Federal Reserve. And all government always corrupts. It's all, the power always corrupts. If you've got the power to regulate, the power to print, you're going to be corrupt, and that's what happens. That's where the beauty, that's why all of us believe in crypto over the long run, because there's no central party to corrupt.
Yeah. I think Gensler actually might get questioned this week or next. So that should be a pretty entertaining crypto TV for those.
Really, though? Come on, and will it really? Are they just going to, like, the Republicans are going to grandstand and pretend that Gensler's partisan?
I would really like
Democrats will get up there and be like, no, he's doing a great job. Thank you for being here today, Gary.
You are correct. You are correct in that, but I would like to see him at least face some questions from, like, a guy like Tom Emmer, who is very pro crypto, and be like, okay, let's hear this face to face instead of Twitter, posts and stuff, and be like, oh, well, Gensler tweeted this, I'm going to tweet this back at him. Like, let's at least give him the opportunity to answer, because it's far more than he's done with Coinbase, in my opinion.
Buddy, you do a great job hosting this thing every week. You've been a welcome addition to these calls. It's fantastic having you sort of guide the conversation. Joe Anderson, can you show us some of the swag that your company has built and the new slogan that I love that you've put on that swag?
Well, yeah, we had that slogan for a while, but
I don't remember the slogan. I was bragging to my wife about it.
Oh, well, we're just doing some new samples of some products within the company, and I decided that when we send these out to our sales team across the country, that I would go ahead and throw some SKTLs things on there. So we have an oven mitt that is "Make Some Space" with a cool "Make Some Space" logo on there.
Looks awesome.
Okay.
Nice.
And you get the pun, right, everybody? SKTL's mission is to clean up space debris, thus making space and outer space for space.
Make some space for some, yeah. So
I want that right there. I'm going to put that right there.
Here we go. We got him full screen now, so we still have.
All right.
Nice.
We also have a pot holder and a couple other things. We have these really cool duffel bags we're making. So
very cool. I'd carry that to the gym.
It's the SKTL swag fashion show.
Yeah. So I got some more stuff, but not in the office here right now with me. But yeah, fun stuff actually.
There is, by the way, on SKTLs.com, SKTLS.com. Anybody can go there. There is a swag page. You can buy duffel bags and cards and stuff. And I should actually go look and see if we've generated some money off there. Maybe we could, I don't know, spend it on, I don't know, maybe on our hosting instead of me paying for it all. Don't forget to vote for the SKTL monthly reward. If you are an existing holder, go to snapshot.org. You can go to that link there. Email missioncontrol@sktls.com if you need the link. But most existing SKTL holders, you can go there. The community votes on how many tokens get mined each month. And the way they get mined is how many satellites and or human beings got sent to outer space successfully each month. That's our mining mission. That's how it gets mined. printed. So Nazi.
Yeah. One more thing. Looking at the transactions, SKTL transactions, that page, first time actually in probably several months, we have gained 4 new SKTL holders. So I've been basically following on and off the total number of token holders. So we've gained 4.
Which is great, and to clarify for the people watching, look, we gave away 100 million tokens to anybody who registered on the website before the airdrop. And they didn't have to sacrifice, they didn't have to send Ethereum, they didn't have to do anything. They just register and they got tokens. 3,500 tokens was sent to like 2,900 people. Okay.
35,000, right?
35,000 tokens. Correct. Sorry. Sent to 2,900 people. And out of that, it's a free market. Once we sent them, there was no holding period or anything. Anybody who wanted to could go blow out of it. And if you registered for it and received those 35,000 tokens, immediately they were worth several $100s. And at one point they were worth several $1,000s. And people who got the free tokens, some of them chose to sell them and take that money and feed their children or make a mortgage payment or whatever they did with it. It's all good. I bought some of those tokens from people who were selling them at some point, I'm sure, because I've now bought 1 million tokens from people who were selling. But that's what Sanatsi is talking about. So after we sent all those tokens out for free to everybody without a marketing campaign or anything, then a lot of those people sold their tokens. So we ended up with, instead of 2,900 holders, it was like 2,700 or something at one point, Sanatsi. And now you're saying that it's starting to grow again. Nobody's selling all their tokens now. People are buying their tokens for the first time.
Yeah, it's less than that, but the exact count right now at the moment doesn't matter. We have been basically steady for several months in a row, and in the last several weeks, we have gained 4 more. That's really the main thing.
So, Nachi, you could have just said we've gained more. You didn't have to say 4. Would have sounded
we've gained more. Excuse me. We've gained more. Yes.
Sanatsi was a chief scientist, not the chief salesman.
Another thing is Piper and I this when we did the monthly reward calculation, there was one unknown payload, meaning we know it's a satellite. There's no brand name or anything like that, but it's basically in orbit. So we counted that as one.
Who sent it? Do you know? Is it United States or China?
Piper is online. I don't remember if it off the top of my head. It's China or Russia. Either Russia or
could have been Russia.
Yeah, one of the two. But we've counted it as one. Just FYI.
I would assume that there are more satellites being sent, even by the United States, than is actually talked about that we are able to track. We only track the stuff that is in the public domain.
Yeah.
But I would assume that the United States is sending occasionally. There's going to be a rocket sent up from somewhere, maybe even from New Zealand or something, that's carrying some secret spy stuff for the United States or people in places in Russia and or China. They've got a large area that we can't necessarily see every single time they launch something.
Yep, absolutely. I agree.
I wish Dan was here. He would have totally either ripped on my statement there or confirmed my statement. He would know everything about like the secret missions that are done.
Well, let's bookmark it for a topic for next week. That's perfect.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
All right. I think this was a fun call, even if it wasn't necessarily all space. Go to SKTLS.com. If you have an idea for how to clean up space debris, go sign up for it. Guys, in the next 3 to 4 weeks, I guess next week's call, can we make a note, Cabana and everyone? Let's go through the submissions, the applications that people have submitted for the space debris fund to donate to. I think there's 5 or 10 submissions in there. and we'll start picking them out, picking out winners.
Okay. And
I mean, not picking out
last-
winners. We'll start picking them out and let the community vote on it. Is how it works.
Okay.
Nominees. Yeah.
And sorry, just again to mention that the monthly reward this time was 28,200 Skytles.
Out of 200 million tokens, that's a 0.1%.
Hey, 28,000.
Free coins for your bag.
That's what I was getting
Yeah.
at. Look, annualized, that's still like 2%, 1.5% annualized. Some months there's been, even up to 1% printed, and then that would be annualized out at a 12% annual inflation rate or whatever you would call it. But yeah, that's one of the things that we like about this is we're not printing billions of tokens. Now, that being said, if you don't yet own Skytles in your wallet, you don't get the mined rewards. So you might as well go get some Skytles if you want to participate in the growth of this thing. So that's all.
And you're getting a discount compared to a month ago, say, where it was double the price ish.
Yeah, is it down to about 1.2 cents or something?
Something like that.
It's less than 0.09 now.
Oh, I'm buying some. I'm actually not joking. Below a penny, I buy. So I'm going to go buy some. I'm not going to go crazy, but you'll probably see it bump above a penny in the next 48 hours because I'll probably put the money to work in it. And it's very illiquid.
There you go.
All right, sweet. God bless. Thank you guys all for being here. Peace, love, and happiness. I'll see you next week. Same bat channel, same bat time, same time zone.
I'll be back in studio in my time zone. So yeehaw. All right.
That'd be great.
Cheers, everybody.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Anand.